Welcome in, everyone. It's a beautiful day to talk about some baseball. We are live from the Toyota Lounge, or at least I am. I'm hanging out in the Toyota Lounge. Spencer's hanging out at home because he still has a, I don't know, what, a 2-week-old, 3-week-old. Spencer, are you surviving being a new dad again for the second time here?
I think surviving is the correct term. Not to the thriving portion yet.
Yeah, you're getting there.
I'm absolutely looking forward to coming to the bar tomorrow to do our watch along.
I was going to say, how many Zac Veen home runs are we away from you changing from surviving to thriving here?
One more walk-off is all I need. I thought we might get it yesterday, and we didn't. But he got on base, so it didn't matter. It wasn't terrible, but one walk-off there, I don't know what I would have done.
Dude, I'm sure Warren Schaefer was more pleased with the walk, especially since that count was 2 strikes and Zac Veen drew the walk than he would have if Zac Veen had hit a walk-off grand slam. But we as fans were absolutely wanting a walk-off grand slam. Didn't happen. Rockies lost yesterday, but this is feeling very similar to what we saw from the Rockies last year. It's been a good spring training. It's been a good offseason, but it's been a good spring training here. The Rockies' record is starting to level out a little bit more, but we're at this point where, we're looking at the Rockies and asking the same question we asked last year, which is this real? Is what we're seeing in spring going to carry over both positively or negatively into the regular season? So that's kind of the question we're going to try to answer today. And we're also going to dive into the specifics. First base has come out to be probably the biggest competitive spot on the field, which we knew coming into it, but it's been different than we were expecting. So we'll dive into that. Starting pitching has been a disaster. I'm even hesitant to just say starting pitching. Pitching in general has been a disaster for the Colorado Rockies, which it normally isn't, by the way, in spring training. If you remember last year, Antonio Senzatello was like a .67 ERA in spring training and one of the best pitchers in the world. We all know how that ended up during the regular season. So we'll talk about if the concerns for pitching in the regular season are going to be there, if those are real concerns. And then we'll also preview the biggest game of the year, my Super Bowl, which is starting tomorrow, Team USA versus the power of friendship, the Colorado Rockies. So we've got a packed show today. But I want to start by having the conversation about first base, because we knew coming into this spring that first base was going to be one of the most competitive positions because they didn't go out and sign a free agent specifically for first base. We thought they might go sign Rhys Hoskins or sign Paul Goldschmidt, or hell, we had hoped, Luis Ariz could have been that guy. In the end, the Rockies said, you know what? We signed some other dudes. We're going to go in-house with the first base slot. So that means Blaine Krim, Troy Johnston, TJ Rumfield, Charlie Condon, Edward Julian. Those are kind of the guys who are currently officially in the mix at first base. Now, Blaine Krim is dealing with an injury right now, which puts a lot more of the pressure on Charlie Condon, TJ Rumfield. And if we're being honest, those two guys are kind of balling out right now. Charlie Condon currently has the hardest hit ball in all of spring training, 115-mile-an-hour home run. TJ Rumfield playing very well defensively, and his offense has shown up with a couple home runs. So the question that I'll start with you, Spencer, is what do we make of this? Is there a chance that we actually see a rookie prospect starting at first base in the regular season? Or is this just another situation that we saw last year with Zac Veen where these guys are having a good spring, but they still are going to start in the minors? What do you make of all this?
Yeah, well, the one energy I'm trying to bring to this spring training is I'm trying to be mentally consistent with my takes. Now, we obviously have our rocks chat, me, you, and Hank, and we overreact. And every time Zac Veen hits a home run, it's like, all right, put him in Cooperstown. We do overreact to some of this stuff. But what I'm trying to do is keep the same energy in terms of, if I'm going to be really excited about a Charlie Condon and a TJ Rumfield and Ryan Ritter some games and all of these guys that have been really good, Mickey Moniak's been incredible, I have to keep that same energy when I look at how bad the pitching has been. I'm trying to be objective and not say, okay, well, because in my mind, in the purple glasses, I want to say, all right, well, the pitchers are working on things. It's okay if they suck in spring training, but the batters that are really good, that's real. You can't be on both sides of the fence. So if I'm trying to be on one side of the fence and be as objective as I can about this team, I'm getting excited about how great Charlie Condon's hit the ball and played at first base. I mean, he's honestly, made some really good plays at first base, which has been impressive. And not only that, and hitting home run after home run after home run, it seems like. And then same with TJ Rumfield at this point. So right now, if I believe everything is real, I'm really worried about the pitching, but I'm really excited for the potential of what could be at first base starting this year. And I think, it's unfortunate for Blaine Crim for his personal life, essentially his personal career, because this was about the worst time to get hurt. And as of yesterday or today, I think I saw something from Thomas Harding saying he may not be ready for the regular season. We can kind of take him out of the equation at this point, as far as we know. So it's been really unfortunate for him. But what we've seen and what we've heard all offseason, all winter meetings, people have to earn their spots. And while this is half of Charlie Condon and TJ Rumfield getting to play first base, a little bit of mixed in Troy Johnston, Edward Julian, etc., while they have not really earned the first base spot at this exact moment by Blaine Crim being out, and it's like we're happy to be here and we're only playing first base because these are the only guys we have. He's now earned his way through how he's hitting the ball. Both Rumfield and Condon at this point, they've legitimately taken the opportunity to get starts at first base because Crim's been out, and they've seized that opportunity. And that's what you want to see in spring training, is guys seizing opportunities. We're not sitting here talking about Charlie Condon hitting 180, but since he's got so much potential, he should probably start at first base for us. No, he's gone out there, and I believe he's hitting like 460, had a couple of walks, obviously the 3 home runs, the hardest hit ball in spring training. So all of these things adding up are telling us that he's actually earning his spot out there, and he just got the chance because of the Blaine Crim injury.
Yeah, and here's the reality of all of this, because we saw this last year with Zac Veen. Zac Veen had a good spring. He was hitting well, and he won spring training MVP, and we all thought he's going to make the opening day roster. And the Rockies said, you know what, we're going to go a different direction, and we're not going to have him on the opening day roster. And then we realized, once he eventually ended up getting called up, that was probably the right move. He wasn't ready yet. And so I'm trying to have this kind of mental debate of, is what we're seeing from Charlie Condon, TJ Rumfield, is that truly them being ready, or is that just another Zac Veen situation? And while I'm very impressed by what I've seen from Charlie Condon and TJ Rumfield and Zac Veen, which we'll talk about in a little bit, I do think the reality is, if the Rockies had it their way, injuries aside, they would have both Charlie Condon and TJ Rumfield starting in the minors. Now, I know that Warren Schaefer is going to say, hey, all of these guys have a chance to earn it. All these guys have a shot. And, if Charlie Condon continues to keep a low K rate, which Scott talks about in the chat, keep his walk rate up, get good contact, keep his average up, his on-base percentage up, keep hitting some home runs. Like, those are all good things, and they add more to his case. But these are still young guys, and I just don't see a world in which spring training is close enough to real game, regular season experience where the Rockies are going to say, yeah, you've earned your spot now. I think they still want them to start in the minors, still want them to get those reps in, to get regular season, even albeit minor league regular season reps in, and then see where they can go from there. And you and I were joking about this, Spence. We were saying, Charlie Condon and TJ Rumfield are going to have this big battle for first base this entire spring, and then opening day lineup's going to get announced, and it's Edward Julian at first base, and he's going to be our next Kyle Farmer. But to be honest, there's a good chance. I think there's a better chance that happens now. But I want Rockies fans, myself included, to be aware that doesn't mean that's a life sentence. And it doesn't mean it has to be the same situation that we saw last year with Kyle Farmer, where the Rockies are just giving these spots to the old guys because they're too afraid to commit. I think there's more intention behind those decisions. So while I don't think it's impossible for Condon or Rumfield to earn a spot, I do think the likelihood is we still see them go with a veteran presence at first base to start, and it be a short leash situation where they say, hey, if Rumfield and Condon are both playing well and we haven't gotten Crim back yet, or we don't know what Crim's status is yet, then we can reevaluate maybe in the month of May.
Yeah, and they've got those bullets in the chamber for, if you're really trying to win as a baseball team, you don't too much care about what the fans think outside of winning games, right? Like you want to win games so your fans are happy and that you're competitive, and then you have playoff games, and it all leads to better things when you simply win games. But where the Rockies are at right now, they have to have in the back of their mind too, like they've gained a lot of good positive momentum in terms of their view, the view of the national media, the view of our media, the view of Colorado Rockies fans, I think has been positively gaining momentum all throughout the offseason into this spring training. And so if you want to keep those bullets in the chamber, if you will, of Charlie Condon, TJ Rumfield in the minor leagues and being able to call them up and have their debut be mid-April or 1st of May, and you get all this excitement for people wanting to come out and see them, that's not the worst idea ever. But where this gets really interesting is not only the Blaine Crim injury, but as we talked about all offseason, and they never ended up going and signing one of those guys, there's not a guy on this roster that's an established major league first baseman. And that's where it gets interesting, because you're like, okay, well, if you never went and, like, if they would have, let's say, signed Paul Goldschmidt, for example, and he was 1 for 20 and starting 4 or 5 games in spring training and was having the worst spring training of all time, you can chalk that up as a fan, as media, to be like, all right, well, he's Paul Goldschmidt. We've seen what he's done for the better part of a decade. He's still going to start at first base. But where they are at in this situation now is, number one, nobody's real position is first base other than Blaine Crim on this entire roster. We've heard, Troy Johnston can play there, but he's played in left field. We've heard that Edward Julian can play there. He's played at second base. So there's guys that can play there. But as far as actually having legitimate first base, Charlie Condon's not quite there. He has played first base, and they saw this hole in this organization when they drafted him and said, okay, he can play outfield, he can play third base, but first base is where you're going to be most accelerated to get to the bigs. And then they make the trade for Rumfield this offseason, where he's a true first baseman that was just basically capped in New York and not able to play first base for the New York Yankees, which is, that's a good problem for them to have, but a great problem for us that we could offload mid bullpen pitcher for him. He's a true first baseman. And that's where this part gets really interesting, because I'm like, all right, well, they've both played well in spring training, but at the same time, you don't have a single guy on your major league roster that you can just wave off a spring training and say, oh, it doesn't mean anything. There's no proven talent, major league level talent at first base. So it brings the question of, like, all right, where do both of these guys go? And I think, if I'm seeing this correctly, the interesting part too is neither of these guys are on the major league roster. So there's going to have to be some edits and some drops or some DFAs in order to get them on the major league roster, in order to start the season at the major league level and start opening day. And that's what also gives us pause. And we joked about it, but the likelihood of them actually starting in Miami at the end of this month is fairly low due to multiple different circumstances.
Yeah, and Scott brings up a really interesting question. He says, honest question, are we pushing Charlie Condon because of where others in his draft class are playing? And I wanted to answer this by looking at the combination of Rumfield and Charlie Condon. TJ Rumfield's 25 years old. Charlie Condon's 22 years old. And I think we're comparing them almost directly as if they were the same age, same position, same ability level, that kind of thing. And the reality is, Charlie Condon's still years behind TJ Rumfield. So I think there's some merit to what you're asking, Scott, that, I think Rockies fans, Rockies analysts, and maybe even the team, but probably less so the team, is hoping and expecting Charlie Condon to be given the same shot as a 25-year-old who's been in the league for a little bit longer in TJ Rumfield. I think the reality is TJ Rumfield probably was going to get that shot first because of his age. Charlie Condon, you don't have to rush at this point. Yes, it's a great thing that he is playing where we hope he would be in the minors right now. Or at least in spring training, he's playing very well. That's a positive. There's nothing wrong with that. But why rush? Why bring him up like we did Zac Veen last year just for him to fail and have a confidence situation where then you have to send him back down, and it's just, and then we're doubting it, and we recognize all these big holes in his swing. I think they're okay giving Charlie Condon a little bit more time, no matter how good he's playing in spring training. If you're going to call one of those guys up right now, and this kind of goes with Felix's question, who are we leaning on more, Rumfield or Condon? I think you got to start with Rumfield, because he's, again, got the age and he's got the experience. I think he's first up at this moment, and they're both playing really well. So if it was me, I give Rumfield the shot. Condon can start in Albuquerque. You let him get up to Albuquerque. You start him in AAA, and you just see what plays out. Now, I do still think that they'll probably start with a veteran, maybe Julian at first base, maybe Crim once he gets healthy. I think they'll probably still give Crim a shot at least once he gets healthy. So I would expect to see him, at that level. But But that's going to be a big revolving door, I think, this year. And I don't think that's a bad thing. We hate revolving doors in a lot of aspects with the Rockies. I think that might be a good revolving door that we need to start seeing guys getting some reps there and see them starting to learn some things. So that's a conversation that we will continue to have. This will not be the last time we talk about that. But we got to pause for our first break of the show. When we come back, biggest stock up and biggest stock down. We did that last week. Let's update that coming into this week, and we'll continue on our conversation here on the DNVR Rockies podcast. You can go SUVs. You can go smaller than that. Well, I want to give a huge shout out right now to our friends at Toyota. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR, and I cannot say enough good things about Toyota. It is the best place to go when it comes to buying trucks, all-wheel drive vehicles, four-wheel drive vehicles, hybrids. You can go SUVs. You can go smaller than that. Whatever you're into, whatever your interests, whatever whatever you're in the mood for, Toyota has you covered. And it's the cool thing about Colorado is you got to be prepared with a vehicle that can last, that can handle the elements. And Toyota has so many different choices for you. Like I said, if you're into trucks, maybe you're doing some work, maybe you need something that can do some towing. Toyota has options for you. The Tundra, you can also go with their Tacoma. I know my mom drives the Tacoma. Spencer used to drive the Tundra. But you can also go with the SUV route, which is where I've gone. I've got the 2024 RAV4. They've got the 4Runner, which is an absolute beast. You just can't go wrong. So if you are in the market to buy a new Toyota, visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson's Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson's Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. Also want to give some love to our friends at Taco Bell, and Taco Bell has officially entered the chicken game. They have brought back their next level chicken nuggets. And I know I talked about this a little bit last week, but I can't say enough about how good these chicken nuggets are. I feel like when you think of Taco Bell, you don't really think of chicken nuggets. It feels like it's kind of a subset of Taco Bell. And I got to say, it changed the game for me. I only want their chicken nuggets whenever I go back to Taco Bell now. It's incredible. If you don't believe me, you got to go try it for yourself. They truly have really, really good chicken nuggets. But maybe you're not in the mood for some chicken nuggets. They have other great options as well. It's the best place to go if you're just craving some good food. And don't forget to add one of the new items from Taco Bell's Luxe Value Menu with 10 items for $3 or less. The Luxe Value Menu at Taco Bell delivers bold, irresistible flavor and crave-worthy items at unbelievable prices. Nobody delivers everyday value and supports your hometown like Taco Bell. Live Más at Taco Bell. Just want to give a quick shout out here real fast before we jump back into the topics. If you guys are diehard Rockies fans, which why would you be watching this show if you weren't? You gotta hang with us tomorrow, because tomorrow we are doing a watch along for Team USA versus the Rockies. Again, my Super Bowl pretty much for the year. It's gonna be the biggest game of this entire season for me. And I'm going to probably put way too much emotional stock into it, but it's going to be good times. So come hang out with us tomorrow at 1:10. Biggest stock up. We'll start with our stock up. I have my pick for this, but Spencer, I'm curious to hear your pick. And you actually are the one who actually does the stock up, stock down after every game. God bless you. But who's been your most exciting, best performances so far, stock up heading into the regular season?
Well, I think there's a couple guys that would fall into the stock up list, and doing those every day. What's kind of fun about it is it's kind of a pain in the ass, but it's fun because I like go into the season knowing when I do the graphic and it takes longer than it should because I'm not a graphic designer. It ingrains in my brain, okay, this guy's had multiple times in the stock up, or this guy's had multiple times in the stock down. The pitching has been in the stock down every single day, it seems like, which is a concern. The other day, I just put the Coors Field pitching mound in there. So, but I would say biggest stock up right now, it's got to be Zac Veen. It just has to be because of the excitement of him. What did we hear all last year about Zac Veen? Even though he had a great spring, right? We were heard, the front office, the management, ownership, whatever, is worried about his maturity. And now we see why. And it's fair. It's completely fair. And Zac Veen was the talk of spring training just by one simple, video from Blake Street Banner, or whoever took that through the batting cages. Looked like I was videotaping my son trying to, hit a ball in there. And you got this monster of a man who gained 40 plus pounds in the offseason. Everybody's like, it's not possible, blah, blah, blah. Well, when you dive into the the reason why that ended up happening, it makes a lot of sense. And so him coming into spring training being a new Zac Veen, essentially, just from a physical look, and then hitting 2 walk-off home runs, like you said yesterday, taking, even though he didn't hit the walk-off grand slam, which would have sent us into orbit, taking a walk there, he's shown some growth in his plate appearances, and not only that, but also changing the way his body looked. I think for a guy that's been a top prospect for the Rockies for so long, that everybody was so ready to get rid of it and just kind of kick to the curb and trade for a minor league pitcher that's in Double-A, I think he has got to be the biggest stock up for me this spring training so far, because it's not just the home runs, but it's the good at bats, and it's the entire change of not only his body, but his mentals and everything that goes into it. I think that can re-put him in that top prospect or guy that should be knocking down the door to make a roster spot and make other guys tradable because you can play him.
So that was going to be my follow-up question, because I don't disagree with you at all. We talked about Charlie Condon having the hardest hit ball in spring training by any team, any player. Zac Veen has the furthest home run hit by any team, any player in spring training. 2 of the best stat lines, at least from that perspective, analytical moments in spring
darlings.
Yeah, like is 2 Rockies guys, which is crazy to think about. But my follow-up was going to be, okay, does that mean Zac Veen should be on the Rockies opening day roster? Because we saw him have a good spring last year and him not make the cut. Now that he's a little bit older, his maturity level has improved. He's taking walks when he should be taking walks. He's not striking out at the same rate. Like, is this enough for the Rockies front office and management to say, yeah, we're going to give you a shot. Let's put you in the outfield instead of, I don't know. I don't know who they'd replace. Maybe that's a conversation for a different day. But let's throw you in the outfield just for opening day.
Well, yeah, and that's where I think, not to dive too deep into it, but that's where I think it's a no for right now. But I think that if you put Zac Veen, I mean, our AAA squad could be unreal. Like, New Mexico could be getting an unreal squad of like Charlie Condon and Zac Veen and maybe TJ Rumfield. Like, it could be legit based on some of these guys. And that's not something to tout when you want your major league team to be good. But it's nice that the cupboards, remember we talked about the open empty cupboards last year and the ramen and all that. Like, they're adding some good mixtures to they're adding some high level hamburger helper to these cupboards that they're able to stock up. And Amador's been okay this spring training. He very well could start the season in AAA. So I don't think it's enough for him to make the roster, but I think it's enough for them to take a good look at what he does when he starts the season in AAA, which is my guess of where he'll start it. And then if a guy like Mickey Moniak, who I love and has been one of the stock up guys for the spring training, continues to have success, you feel more comfortable flipping them at the deadline and getting even more down in the minor league level, hopefully some more pitching to be able to grow in the Rockies system and be able to become a force at Coors Field in the next couple of years. But you know that you're not just saying, oh, Zac Veen's just up here because he's a top prospect. Zac Veen still continues to earn it through the first half of the season and then gets called up. And as we know, it's so hard to predict, and you don't want to predict injuries, but there's going to be injuries on this team. We've seen it. Blaine Crim, I mean, it's not like if that would have been Brenton Doyle or Hunter Goodman, we would have freaked out. I mean, still technically probably your starting first baseman, if they would have had to announce an opening day starting first baseman on the first day of spring training, it would have been Blaine Crim, and he's already out. So it's a matter of like, we know the injuries are coming. I mean, last year there was 12 call-ups. This year there'll probably be 10 to 12, especially with some of the talent that we're seeing in spring training that won't start the season on the major league roster. But it's just another bullet in the chamber that they can have and feel like if Jake McCarthy goes in a big slump, you've got a guy ready to come up. Or if Brenton Doyle gets hurt again or is out again, or Jordan Beck needs to be sent to AAA, you don't want any of these things to happen, but you never can have enough depth, in the outfield, especially at Coors Field, with guys that can hit, guys that can steal bases. That's one thing that's been incredible this spring training, guys just stealing bases everywhere, being aggressive on the base paths. Like, all that's been really positive, but I don't think it's enough for him to be like, all right, you're starting at the major league level. We're going to start you in AAA.
Well, and can I just say real fast how refreshing it is that the guys that we want to have to be stock up are actually stock up. Last year, if you remember, the guys that were like performing outside of Zac Veen, the guys that were performing well in spring training, Sean Bouchard, Nick Martini, Kyle Farmer. Like, sure, cool. They had good springs, but like, we didn't care come regular season that Nick Martini was hitting a double or a triple every other at bat for a month and then dropped off the face of the earth and became a clubhouse guy. Like, that didn't matter to us whatsoever. We want the Kyle Caros, the Ryan Ritters, the Charlie Condons, the TJ Rumfields. Like, those are the guys that should be having a stock up spring training. And so just for all the Rockies fans out there, myself and you included, it is nice to remember that like the guys who should be having a good spring training are having a good spring training for the most part. So that it's a start. Again, it doesn't always mean that it's going to translate once the regular season starts, but it is a good place to start. Now, stock down. And I don't want to have this full conversation yet, but we can kind of get into this to start before we hit our next break. Stock down. I know there's a couple, I see Julian's name for Luke who's saying Julian stock down. If he looks bad in the WBC, I'm about to be out on him. There's a couple offensive players that aren't hitting well. Hunter Goodman, another guy, he's hitting 113 so far this spring training. I'm not really worried about Hunter Goodman. But this pitching staff has been atrocious. And maybe this isn't a surprise. Maybe this is just reality. We are Rockies fans. What should we expect? If someone out there, the casual fan or even the Rockies hater is watching, they're probably yelling at the screen, yeah, no shit, the Rockies pitching sucks. It's Rockies pitching. But that being said, I think we expected it to be a little more serviceable, especially the bullpen. And that has just not been good. So you said it, Spence. You put your stock down the other day as the entire just mound pitching staff as a whole for the Rockies. I think that's kind of fair right now. And there are specifics that you can get into, specific metrics that I want to point out that are really frustrating from a pitching standpoint. And Scott read my mind. The walks. Every game that the Rockies have gone out there, they've walked like 50 guys. And it's just like, okay, we have a new pitching staff. We have a new organizational philosophy. That's the kind of stuff that makes you want to pull your hair out. Now, with that being said, if I brought a Lone Leichman out here, or I brought Michael Lorenzen out here, or Quintana, or whoever, insert pitcher here, they'd probably all push back and say, well, yeah, that's what happens when you work on things. That's what spring training's for, right? And Lorenzen, I actually watched his post game. He did say, I want to get this kind of stuff out of the way now. I want to get some of these preseason jitters, these preseason bad outings. I want to get them out of the way so we can kind of close the book on that and move forward into the regular season. But as a fan, it is frustrating. I know they're working on things. I know they're trying a bunch of new stuff. That's all fine. But I want to have the pitching conversation here in just a moment. We got to pause for our next break. We'll talk pitching and more. Should we actually be concerned about the Rockies pitching going into regular season, or is this all just spring training blues for the Colorado Rockies? That'll come up right after this break. Well, can't go any further without giving a shout out to our friends at Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's is the place to go make your craveable chicken finger dreams come true. And yeah, once you've had Raising Cane's, you might start dreaming about them. They're that good. I can't say enough good things about Raising Cane's. They've got incredible chicken fingers that are made hand battered right there, right before you pick up your food. They also have their world famous, and yes, I say world famous, cane sauce. It's made in-house every single day. It's fresh. It's not those little sauce packets that, sit on the counter for a year before they actually get handed out. No, this is literally made every single day in store. Fresh squeezed lemonade. You've got sweet tea. You've got Texas toast. You've got their crinkle cut fries. You just can't go wrong with Raising Cane's. So if you are hungry, if you are in the mood for some chicken fingers, head to your nearest Raising Cane's location. Make your craveable dreams a reality. Raising Cane's, chicken fingers, one love. Well, I also can't say enough good things about our friends at Shady Rays. Shady Rays is the best place to go with summer right around the corner. I know it feels like we're already 2 months into summer. I mean, this winter has been non-existent, but if you're looking to get some sunglasses set up for the summer seasons, then head to our friends at Shady Rays. They've got a great code for you. That's code DNVR you can use. And you can go pick up some sunglasses. And the cool thing about Shady Rays is they are a company that's built on customer service. If you damage or lose your sunglasses, they'll send you a new pair of sunglasses for free. Can't say that about the competitors. They are truly the best when it comes to taking care of their customers, and their sunglasses are built to last. But like I said, even if you damage them or you lose them, which so many people do, it's their sunglasses. I get it. It happens. You know, they fall out of your pocket or fall off your hat when you get out of the car. You step on them. You need a new pair of sunglasses. Shady Rays has you covered. So if you're looking to get some new pairs of sunglasses before the summer seasons, use our friends at Shady Rays. Go to shadyrays.com. Use code DNVR for 40% off 2 pairs of polarized sunglasses. Again, use that code DNVRSR for 40% off 2 pairs of polarized sunglasses. All right, pitching, Spencer. I set you up there before the break. What are your thoughts? Is this a concern beyond where you were already concerned? We all know Rockies pitching is going to be tough no matter what. Are you more concerned now, or do you think this is just a byproduct of spring training?
I think I'm a little bit more concerned, if I'm being completely honest, because what did we talk about kind of maybe 1 or 2 weeks ago when we were like, all right, this roster, the strength of this roster is the bullpen. And we said that last year, and then it wasn't a strength, and they had one of the highest ERAs of all time, especially in the bullpen and guys in and out. And so starting this spring training where, as Scott said in the chat, the walks, and then you talk about the home runs given up like yesterday, right? I'm watching the game, they're playing the Dodgers, and the first inning goes by and Jimmy Herget gets through it. And I'm like, hell yeah, Jimmy Herget, our guy. And I was literally already, because I had some things in the afternoon, I was already starting to put the graphic together for Jimmy Herget to be in the stock up category. And then he goes out there in the second inning, gives up a home run. And I know it's just a solo home run in spring training in the second inning of a Cactus League game on a random Monday in March. But I was like, okay, well, I can't put him in there now. And then another guy comes in, I believe it was Wellington Herrera or something. He comes in, goes scoreless first inning, and I'm like, cool, maybe it's this guy. Second inning, gives up a walk and a homer. And the walks and the home runs are a little bit concerning right now. And, it feels like any single pitcher that they put out there, maybe Zach Agnos is the only guy. I have to look up the stats just from memory. I think Zach Agnos is the only guy that hasn't given up a run yet, but Halverson's looked not great. Vodnik hasn't looked great. Herget had looked okay until yesterday, gives up a home run. I mean, we're going through the list. I mean, John Brebbia, who may make this roster, was the only one that was like pretty dominant the other day in his spring training outing, went a couple innings. But again, when you're watching spring training games, you can only put so much stock in them to start, but you want to put stock into the guys who are playing in the first couple innings. If it's a batter, are they facing, when they played the Royals the other day, you're facing Lugo. It's an actual MLB pitcher that had a great season last year. You can take some stuff from those at-bats against a guy like that. Once you get to the 5th, 6th, 7th inning, the Rockies have a guy named Machine playing third base for them. It just like gets to a fantasy land at some point during these games of guys that are never going to be on the major league roster. You're never going to hear from them after they play every March and then they go do work at Home Depot or whatever. And then they go play again in another March when they get invited. Your shirt reminded me of that. But I am worried. I think I'm a little bit worried right now about the fact that we talked about the closer role. Could be 3 or 4 guys. We don't know. Nobody's taken that job now. Like some of the guys have, the Rumfields and the Condon, have felt like they've taken first base. They've taken the opportunity and seized it. Everybody that comes out to the pitcher's mound now has just been kind of a disaster. And tomorrow, when we do our watch along against Judge and Raleigh and all these guys, like we'll get to see what these pitchers are really about, because those guys are going to be competing. Obviously, they're trying to get informed for this WBC. It's not going to be a bunch of end of the bench spring training guys that they're facing. So we'll get to see Kyle Freeland. We'll get to see some other guys, but other than what Eli Whitney in the comments, 3 innings pitched and 5 strikeouts for Zach Agnos. No, like he's my closer right now. Overreaction. Zach Agnos is your closer. Seth Halverson's throwing it all over the diamond. It's Victor Vodnik, same thing. So I'm a little bit worried. I have to be honest.
Yeah, Tom says, I don't know where anyone gets the strength in the bullpen. Last year, second half, if it wasn't Jimmy or Vic closing, you knew you were screwed. I think it's more about the potential. And I get potential isn't tangible always, because who cares how good a pitcher could be if they're not actually performing at that level. But you see what Seth Halverson has in the tank. You see what, hell, even Juan Mejia had in the tank, and you felt like if there was just some fine
Jaden
tuning,
Hill.
Jaden Hill, another good example. Like if there was some fine tuning there, these guys have the stuff to be good, but they're all young, and so you're sitting there thinking they just need to have the right, the right fine tuning from a pitching staff that knows what they're doing. That's going to be able to allow them to become elite because the stuff is there. I mean, you've got guys who throw 100 plus miles an hour with really good off speed stuff, and when they're locating, they're unhittable. That's where I think the bullpen being good is. That narrative comes from. Also, you have to remember the rest of the Rockies, the bar is set so low because the Rockies as a whole are pretty dysfunctional. So when you see a group of bullpen pitchers that just look serviceable, you tend to value that or maybe even overvalue that. So maybe we are overvaluing the bullpen a little bit. But I think there is some truth to the fact that that is one of the strengths or could be one of the strengths of this organization, of this team, because of the weapons that you have at your disposal. It's just a matter of whether or not those guys show up. Now, I wanted to go back to our conversation about, whether or not this means anything because of spring training, because it's spring training. And it's interesting because when you look at offensive output, Zac Veen, Charlie Condon, TJ Rumfield, Ryan Ritter, Kyle Karros, those kind of guys having good offensive output in spring training, it's easy for us to kind of sit there and say, well, it's exciting, but it's spring training, right? They're facing these pitchers that don't normally pitch a lot or pitch in the minors. Like it doesn't always translate, as we saw last year with Veen. It doesn't translate to the regular season. It's funny because I think the opposite is actually true with pitching. Pitching, I think if you are struggling in spring training as a pitcher, if you are not working on things, and that being the reason you're struggling, let's say you're going up there really just trying to get outs, and you are struggling as a pitcher in spring training against guys that are minor leaguers, against guys that aren't really going to be seeing a lot of big league action, that is more concerning to me because you should be, as a big league pitcher, you shouldn't be having a lot of issues against spring training opponents. So while both of those are kind of muddy, both of those can be a little bit of a gray area. Again, you just don't know what it's going to translate into until the regular season starts. I actually put more stock negatively in the pitchers having a bad spring training than I do positively in our offensive players having a good spring training. And I wish that wasn't true, but I am concerned too. I do think pitching, I just, because of the concerns that we already have, because this pitching staff as a whole just hasn't been good because it's Rockies pitching, I think those are legitimate concerns. I'm very nervous about the month of April with where our pitching staff is at right now.
Well, let's be real too. As Rockies fans, media, whatever you want to call us, doing a show and watching them and talking about them every single week, couple times a week, at the past 2 to 3 years has ingrained in us that we think the worst of what we're seeing. And you just said it, all these offensive outputs, these Charlie Condon, we're celebrating it, yes, inside, but we're in reality, we're like, okay, well, Zac Veen had a great spring training last year and was the MVP, and we wanted him to be on the roster. And then all these other things happened, and he was essentially no good at all. Not for AAA, not in the majors, nothing. And then the pitching staff, we saw Antonio Senzatella be a Cy Young candidate in March or February even, and then he comes out and is literally one of the, if not the worst starter, in the entire MLB last year. And that's not even a stretch to say that. So I think as Rockies media and following the Rockies, we've been ingrained, especially the last few years, to think the worst. So we don't try to get too high, but when we see something that's already bad, it makes us even feel more low, like the pitching has this year. And if you want me to flip that around and put the purple glasses on, it's very easy to do and say, all of these pitchers have an entirely new pitching philosophy with these pitching coaches. All 4 of them are new. All 4 of them are for different organizations. They're all trying to work things out. They're all trying new things. And, like my 2-year-old son always says, mistakes happen when you try new things. And that's what's happening in spring
Sawyer
training
says that?
right now. Yeah. He the potty training
Smart
wasn't
kid.
going great. And so you're supposed to say, mistakes happen when you try new things. And so I'll be like, Sawyer, when do mistakes happen? You say, try new things. And so that's kind of what we're seeing from the Rockies pitching staff is what we hope right now, right? That's, if you want to look at it with some optimism, that's the hope is like, all right, they're trying to do different things than they've done in the past. They're not necessarily concerned with the results, and they've said that. The Warren Schaefer said that. There's been multiple people that have said that. They're not concerned with the results. They're concerned with the process. And from the pitching side, I'd love for them to be like, all right, we're trying this, this, and this. We're going to find out it doesn't work, or it does work in spring training and not opening weekend in Miami, or when the Phillies come to town for opening day and you're still trying things out, and then Schwarber hits 5 home runs on our opening day and ruins it for us. You hope that they get that out of the system now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's fair. I think that's fair. We got 4 minutes till our next break, but I wanted to quickly, I kind of want to go through this briefly each week, just because I think with spring training moving, it's easy to quickly update this kind of thing. But we'll do our way too early lineup predictions here, and we'll run through this here. I'll give you mine, and then Spence, you can kind of give yours. Starting at catching, Hunter Goodman, of course, starting pitcher for opening day. Kyle Freeland, I think even if he struggles in spring training, he's still solidified as your veteran starter. You start him at spring training, or you start him at the opening day for the regular season. I think Michael Lorenzen would be a close 2. First base, if Blaine Crim cannot be your first baseman, if he is not physically ready to be your first baseman yet, I do think you end up starting this season with a veteran. Now, I don't know what that looks like. I hesitate to say Edward Julian because he's kind of sucking right now in spring training, so they might go and shock us and do Rumfield, but I think it's between those two. Troy Johnston could be another fit for that, but first base is still a huge question for me. Second base, I think you got to go Willie Castro. I think Willie Castro fits the mold at second base. He's having a great spring training. Shortstop, of course, Ezekiel Tovar. Third base, Kyle Karros. I think he earns his way into a spot. He's playing very well this spring training, so I give him third base. And then the outfield is pretty rudimentary. Left field, Beck. Center field, Brenton Doyle. And right field, Jake McCarthy, with DH being Mickey Moniak. That's my opening day starting lineup. Spence, what do you got?
I'm right with you. It's if I had to predict actually what it was, I would say you're right. Hunter Goodman and Kyle Freeland, the battery. First base, if I had to guess right now, I would say your starting first baseman opening day is going to be Troy Johnston. It feels like that's where they would go. As much as I'd love, like you said, to see it be Rumfield or Condon, there's going to have to be a lot of roster management in order for that to happen. Starting at second base, I would actually give that to Ryan Ritter right now. I think Ryan Ritter would be your starting second baseman. Willie Castro would be your starting third baseman. Tovar at short, and then same outfield. I think it's Willie Castro is an interesting case right now because it's basically Willie Castro. To me right now, Willie Castro starts opening day at second base or third base, depending upon if they feel like Karros is more ready and he starts at third, or Ritter is more ready and starts at second. So that's where it's falling to me right now. But Willie Castro will be in your starting lineup opening day. It just depends upon if he's going to be at third base or at second base for me.
Yeah, I agree. And Castro's had a great spring, like I just said. Tom also says, I've really liked Condon's defense so far at first. Both Rumfield and Charlie Condon have impressed me with their defensive ability at first. I think someone earlier, it might have been Scott in the chat, said, that Condon has soft hands defensively. And I think it's always a question when you've got a guy like Charlie Condon, who is kind of a utility player. He can play outfield. We saw him in right field yesterday, by the way. He can play third base. He can play first base. And you never know, what the commitment is. What does he feel most confident in? We asked him last year when he was in Denver, hey, what do you want? What would you like to play if you had a choice? And he kind of gave us the politically correct answer of whatever gets us the most wins, right? So
whatever the team needs from me.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the type of guy Condon is, and that's great. Good for him. But it has been really nice to see him defensively holding his own at first. He had some great picks the other day, which was nice to see. And then TJ Rumfield, same exact thing. And Rumfield is a designated first baseman. I mean, that's his spot.
He's won a gold. He's won a Gold Glove in the minors at first base.
I did, yeah. And so that's exactly I didn't have any doubts with TJ Rumfield. So it's nice to see, and it brings me back to Michael Toglia, because I remember we all famously thought that Michael Toglia was going to end up winning a Gold Glove at first base for the Rockies. That obviously did not happen. So I don't want to get too much ahead of myself. But just from where we're at, sitting here in spring training in the month of March, trying to contain our excitement for a team that's most likely going to lose 100 games still in 2026, it is good to see those guys having a good spring, those guys having a good defensive start to their seasons in spring training, and hopefully they continue to grow from it. We got to pause for our last break. After the break, we get to the big topic. How will the Rockies do against the big bad Team USA. That is coming up next. I also wanted to quickly give a shout out, and I know we're probably going to say this every single show from here until the event actually happens. We have our suite takeover coming up. You can head to thednvr.com/events to get more information on that. It's against the Braves in the month of, what month is it? Is it in, Spence?
May 3rd.
May 3rd. May 3rd.
That whole weekend between our wives wanting to go to Fourth Wing Night May 2nd and that May 3rd, we will be at Coors Field as fans all weekend, I think.
Dude, yeah, I know. Yeah, the Rockies are doing their Fourth Wing Night, so if you have wives or maybe you're into Fourth Wing and you like that kind of book, you can go do that, and then you can come hang out with us later that week at the suite takeover. It's all you can eat food, drinks. You hang out with Spence and I and some of the other DNVR crew members in a suite. It's a great time, so come check that out. But yeah, let's talk a little Team USA Rockies action, because we've got their first pitch going off tomorrow at 1:10 p.m. It's an exhibition. I'll say that. It is an exhibition. So if the Rockies lose, we can just say, it was an exhibition. They weren't playing their main guys. Team USA, they've got no shot if the Rockies play all their starters. But if the Rockies win, then the Rockies just beat the greatest team ever on the face of the earth. So I'm going to be excited either way. But what's the vibe going into this, Spence? I know. Just as a baseball fan, you're pumped. But do you think the Rockies have a shot?
I think they do, because, in baseball, anything can happen in one game. I will be curious to see, like we talked about, they definitely giving Kyle Freeland the start. Now he's probably going to pitch maybe 2 innings. Giving Kyle Freeland the start when he was on Team USA last time, a little bit of motivation for him. But I'm just looking at, their lineup today versus the Giants, and it's Bobby Witt, Bryce Harper, Aaron Judge, Schwarber, Bregman, Raleigh, Roman Anthony, Byron Buxton, Bryce Terang, and Paul Skeens. And I'm like, okay, that's gonna be a rough one. I do hope, though, baseball is crazy. You can have a guy that's supposed to start the season in Single A go strike out Harper, Judge, and Schwarber. I don't doubt that could happen, but I really hope that the Rockies do throw after Freeland. It's like, all right, give ourselves a shot. I know the bullpen hasn't been good, but they're the best you got. Give him a Jaden Hill, maybe a Pettit. Maybe Jimmy Herget gets another 2 innings. I'd really love to see that. Having an off day today, hopefully they really have a lot of their guys at their disposal. But just as a Rockies fan, give it your best shot and give the guys a chance to win this game, because all eyes will be on this game watching Team USA play the Rockies. And so you get a little national pub. The Rockies don't get ever to play on Sunday Night Baseball anymore because of where they've been as a franchise. So it's truly a chance for everyone to have all eyes on you, and we'll see. I know some of the guys are going to be gone. I know Tovar will be probably gone. He won't be able to play that game, but you got most of your roster there and most of your big guns, if you will call them that, there for the Rockies tomorrow. So I'm excited to see what lineup they put out, and I really hope that Warren Schaefer kind of pushes the envelope a little bit. I know it's early March, but let's do it.
Yeah, that's Sean Kelly, the hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby game. Can we go through? Drop in the chat what you would best use as a metaphor for this game tomorrow. I'm open to any and all suggestions. That's a pretty good one. I wanted to ask that question. Do we think the Rockies try? Now, I understand if Warren Schaefer was sitting here right now, he'd punch me in the face and say, no shit, we try. We're going to try. We're going to go out and try. We try to win every damn game, Christian. What are you talking about? But it's spring training. So I kind of had this mental debate of do they kind of play it off like, hey, it's spring training, we're not going to throw our best lineup out there? Or do they do what you just said, Spence, and go out and actually try to put a quality lineup out there, not just the minor leaguers, but guys that, give a regular season test out there in the month of March to see, what this team is made of? I sincerely hope that they do. And I think you and I, Spence, we've talked to Schaefer almost every day, at least during the regular season for all of last year and a couple times in the offseason. And we have a pretty good understanding of who he is as a competitor. He's going to want to win. He's definitely not going to just roll over and say, we don't care wins or losses. We're just here for the process. He's going to go out and try to win. But I really do hope we see that. I hope we actually get the visible approach of the Rockies aren't just rolling over and just doing another spring training game. Like they're going out there and trying to win this thing. And hey, if Aaron Judge can go out and give the same electric pregame speech that he gave yesterday, I think the Rockies might have a chance.
Kyle Freeland just going into the Salt River Fields locker room tonight and just hyping the guys up and giving it their all.
Yeah,
great.
I if you guys didn't see that, if you don't get the reference, go on Twitter or go on YouTube or something and find Aaron Judge's his inspirational, motivational speech to Team USA. I saw someone say, this has me ready to run through a wet paper towel. And that's kind of the vibe that I got from that. So if we've got team captain Aaron Judge giving the pregame speeches in the dugout before every game, I think the Rockies might actually have a shot to go out and win this thing, though. But I'm excited, man. I do think this is an opportunity for the Rockies to actually get a first look at like a real talented team. I know they played the Dodgers yesterday, but again, you're playing minor leaguers. You're playing guys who are non-roster invites, and you are subsequently playing your own minor leaguers and your own non-roster invites. I think tomorrow can serve as a test where you can say, hey, look, this is going to be a look at what it's like when we start playing some actual real major league players once the end of March comes around and April starts up and the regular season gets going. And so while you and I will inevitably put way too much stock into whether or not the Rockies play well tomorrow, I do think the Rockies can kind of grade tomorrow based on how some of their players are going to play this regular season. I think it could be a good test.
Yeah, like we see in the comments with Luke, MLB show is going to be so fire if the Rockies win. I will watch every single post game, anything passing, Rosenthal, anybody that's saying anything. It's like a happy night after the Avs or Nuggets win where you're joy scrolling. I will be joy scrolling tomorrow for an exhibition game if the Rockies win this game.
And subsequently
the everything that comes out of it is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, and subsequently I'll be crashing out if they like lose like they did yesterday where they have, the bases loaded, chance to walk it off, and they ground out with the bases juiced and, the game ends. Like tomorrow for me is like the first game where I'm like actually watching like, hey, this is what real baseball is going to feel like.
Yeah, or if it's like the Royals game and they're down like 14 runs in the third inning, I'm like, holy Christ, like that will not be fun. We will.
I know.
Hey, what I was going to say before, now that we're on camera, before we get on camera again tomorrow, I'm allowing you a crash out tomorrow that doesn't count against your one season crash out.
I feel like that's not fair though. I feel like that's, I had said in my predictions, I'm allowing myself only one crash out for the entire season. And it's a long season. I feel like that's bold going in on it tomorrow.
Yeah, well, you can just retool your wording and say, I'm allowed one crash out for the regular season. We're not there yet. So
okay. All right.
I'm allowing you we have to crash out if they get their ass kicked tomorrow. We have to.
Yeah. That's fair. We also don't do a lot of watch-alongs. We are going to probably do a watch-along for opening day, like the opening day, not when they're home for the home opener, but when they're on the road. We're going to do a watch-along for that. But it is unique because baseball is just too long to do a watch-along for every single game, or at least for us. That's a pretty heavy lift from the production side. So we're only doing 2 watch-alongs as of now, and tomorrow is going to be one of them. So yeah, you might, depending on how our pitchers do, we'll see how that goes. But has Team USA actually put out their lineup yet, Spence? I know they're probably going to put it out sometime today.
Well, I think their game just ended, so I would imagine it'll be a little different than it was today. Like they literally, the whole team it's an all-star team, so I would imagine they'll get some different guys in some different spots tomorrow. But I have not seen anything live as of today other than the one I kind of just listed off for them playing the Giants. So
yeah, I wanted to get your predictions on this before we wrap up the show. What do you think is going to happen? I know we kind of talked about this last week, but I want to solidify this. The day before, this is our pregame show, pretty much. What do you predict is going to transpire tomorrow with Kyle Freeland, Mr. Native Colorado, on the mound against arguably one of the greatest rosters we've ever seen in baseball?
I think it's going to look a lot like a lot of the regular season games last year. We're going to be down 6-0 in the third inning.
Okay, so here's my prediction. I think Kyle Freeland has a tough first inning, as he normally does. But then I think he locks it in for the second inning, because that's what we saw last year. He would have this like fall apart first inning, and then he'd give you like a no-hitter basically until the sixth inning when they took him out, but you'd still be down 4-0. I think he has a tough first inning. I think he has a much better second inning, and then I think the bullpen treads water. I actually think it's going to be a little bit better than people think. I think this is going to end up being, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go all out here. I think the Rockies pull off the upset tomorrow. I think they win 5-4 tomorrow. I think the offense steps up. I think because Team USA is not going to throw their best pitchers. We know that. They're not going to throw Skubal, who's meant to throw 55 pitches against Team Great Britain, which might as well be the Rockies. I think they're going to go with some iffy pitchers. So I think the Rockies can put up 5, maybe 6 runs. Let's go 6. I'll say 6 runs for the Colorado Rockies. Team USA only puts up 4 against a bullpen that is reinvigorated against Team USA. The Rockies hold Team USA to just 4 runs. It's 6-4 final, and the Rockies can celebrate our World Series in the month of March.
I love that. I'm actually watching right now just the pregame of USA versus the Giants today. Michael Phelps is out there. I mean, after the Olympics and the way the USA finished that hockey, I think they're just rolling that into baseball, and this is a great time for baseball to have a ton of eyes on it. And it's, if you don't look too far in the future of 2027, I think this could be a good year for baseball in general. I think there's a lot of hype.
Let's also not forget, this could be the last, like, we are entering the last year of stable, structured baseball, because we don't know what 2027 is going to look like. And that's a conversation for a different day. I'm sure we will have lots of conversations in 2027 about baseball and what it's going to look like, and, lockouts and all of that kind of stuff. But we're entering the last true season of baseball where we're like, we know baseball's happening, right? 2027, we have no idea what it's going to look like. And we sure as hell aren't going to have the WBC. So I'm trying to just embrace this, man. I think the Rockies are going to shock the world tomorrow. I think they will give us some lifelong memories that will last us a lifetime, and we can go into this regular season, no matter what happens, feeling it's like having the triple play last year. It's like having that 17-16 comeback win against the Pirates, where we say no matter what happens, obviously we'd love them to go to the playoffs, but they didn't. They lost 119 games, but we still had that game. We still had one of the greatest games, honestly, in the history of baseball. A 17-16 comeback win against the Pirates, a game in which you were down 9-0 in the first inning, and the Rockies came back and won. I think tomorrow gives us something to hold on to.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. They've got the whole ESPN crew out today for their exhibition. Like, this is going to be all eyes on the Rockies. So if you want to tune in tomorrow to see Spencer go from surviving to thriving, be sure to do it with us at 1:10 p.m. We're probably going to start the show around 1. We'll be downstairs. I think our boy Hank is going to come join the show. We might have some fans jumping in and out, just saying hi. If you guys want to come hang out with us too, I don't know if the bar is going to be open that early, but it might be open by the time the game is wrapping up. So yeah, come hang out with us. But if not, just come jump on the stream. We're going to be live on YouTube doing this watch along. It's going to be a great time. One of just 2 watch alongs that we're going to be doing all season long. So we appreciate you guys as always. This has been fun. Hopefully the next time we talk to you on the show, we get to talk about the Rockies winning an incredible upset against Team USA. But either way, we'll see you guys back here next week on the DNVR Rockies pod. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.